Hi there, marketers. My name is Chris,
And my name is Waseem Bashir.
and we are co-founders of LeadGen. And this is a new video format we're now starting called Marketing Mavericks, the Marketing Mavericks Show. And our plan is to bring you the best people in marketing, B2B marketing, growth hacking, and also to share our own story, because we figured out there's so much stuff we do every single day. And we talk a lot between us. And that's the kind of stuff we want to share with you. Not just the marketing we do, not just the practical insight into building funnels, landing pages, and so on. It's also going to be behind the scenes, which is something which I think will be extremely interesting and something that is not so much out there. So yeah, in this first episode, we want to basically just introduce ourselves to you, give you a bit of background about our story and what motivates us to do this. So yeah, why don't we start, Waseem? Maybe share a bit about your story in marketing or your career.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. So yeah, I think this new format gives us the opportunity to share what we usually discuss between us. And I thought it would be best if we document our story and share it with other people, because there would be maybe hundreds of people exactly in the same position like we are, and they can possibly connect with us and understand the challenges we face every day, because we don't have any kind of VC money or other investors. So it's all bootstrapped. So everything is done on a thread. So coming back to your question, I think, yes, it's great that we talk about us first, and over the next few weeks, we will cover lots of other things. So my background has always been in computer science. So I did my bachelor's in computer science. I still remember the first day when one of my favorite teachers, his name was Mr. Athar. He was the one who introduced me to programming. And the best part is he actually didn't teach us programming on the computer. He taught us programming on paper. So he would ask us to draw flowcharts for these algorithms. And I still remember it was such an exciting moment for me, because it seemed like almost a part of my brain unlocked. Yeah. And that was a new thing. I never knew that I would enjoy programming so much.
So how old were you there?
I think I was 18, 16, 18, 19, yeah.
Okay.
And at that time, computers were obviously quite new, in a sense, there were not many people involved in IT, but it was getting to a point where new programming languages were introduced. And it was more fun, because earlier I remember there was just command prompts, and you had no graphical interfaces. You had to just literally bash in code. But the whole journey started with that first class of drawing flowcharts. And I still do that now when we look at Whimsical together, when we look at drawing any kind of change in our programs or in our apps. We first go back to that whiteboard approach and and go through that whole flowcharting experience. So after that, I did realize I wanted to kind of extend my knowledge, and somehow it seemed that doing a master's degree would probably help me learn more. In hindsight, I don't think it matters too much whether you have a master's degree or not, as long as you have the kind of desire to learn. You can actually implement stuff without having a university degree. I know you don't have an IT degree.
No.
And you still can manage any system, I know.
Exactly. So, and even in marketing, you don't need any type of degree, whether it's bachelor or master, in my view.
100%. I was listening to, I think, Russell Brunson the other day, and he has this guy called Steven Larson, who was one of the first funnel builder, and he did a master's degree, and then he learned from Russell Brunson, and he said he never learned anything in master's, or in his marketing degree, which was as close to what Russell Brunson was doing. So after that, I felt I should now use these skills and work in a corporate environment, only because I felt that would be where I would be able to use my skills and use my knowledge. And at that part of my life in London, I felt working in the financial industry was really cool. Working in these corporate environments was cool. Although now in hindsight, it seems very uncool.
Yeah.
But at
Yeah.
that point, it was very cool. But I learned a lot, and I've worked with really incredible people in those years. I've met some amazing people, worked with amazing managers. So one of my managers, George, he was so good, and I've learned so much from him. And I feel like I wish I spent more time with him, because the kind of empathy people have for like your colleagues is something you can't just read from a book. You have to experience it in your life, and experience it with other people. So after that, eventually I left my role in 2015 and started my job, or like my work life, as a freelancer. And eventually I realized there's so many other people doing the same stuff. I need to niche out and focus on a particular area. And that's when the idea of landing pages came. And landing pages are these one-page websites which you can easily measure and see whether you can get any valuable return from it. So unlike like websites, as we know, they could be like information based. Landing pages are heavily focused on conversions. And while we were doing landing pages, we found that there was a huge area where you could focus on the form itself. So the form on the page could be improved to generate more results. And that is where the idea of LeadGen came. So rather than thinking of a form as a boring, like a boring medium where people enter their details, we gamified it slightly by having steps. So rather than having a huge form with name, email, phone number, address, we would split the form and increase the chances of conversions. And I remember during that time, I think it was between 2016, 2017, where we met.
It was 17.
Yeah, exactly. So in 2017, we met, and that was the time when we started our journey together, where while I was a freelancer and we,
As well.
yeah, and you were you were a freelancer as well.
Yes.
And I remember you were really good at creating videos and courses. And we ended up doing this course, which I think we could share in our show notes. It's called the Freelancer Masterclass, where I went on this course together with you, and we recorded this whole thing in a day.
Maybe a bit more, but yeah, the screen share probably, we took a whole morning or something to record a lot.
Yeah, and then we went, I remember, I mean, these are the things which you kind of learn as you go along, because you were still in university, or somehow connected with Essex University.
Yes.
And you managed to get a recording studio booked for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
which was cool. So it's things like this where you have to almost like think outside the box and use your connections, and think of ways to utilize as much as possible. And that's how we have met, which I think would be useful to share as well. And during that time, I was fiddling with LeadGen, but it was more of like an idea which we had internally, and we were using it internally as a tool. But then when you saw potential in LeadGen, you realized, you can take it to the next level. And that's how kind of we met, and that's how you now taken LeadGen to the masses.
Yeah.
So overall, I would say I've had a good experience in different roles. I've worked with amazing customers recently, like when I say recently, in the last 5 years, worked with small to medium-sized enterprises, and worked with more than 500 clients, I would say. And it has helped us learn so much about different industries. And now that knowledge, experience is pumping back into LeadGen, because it was started by scratching our own itch. And now we are like still scratching it, because we know there are other problems which we can solve.
Yeah, great. And working with 500 customers, that alone sounds really amazing to me. And I think that kind of all feeds into this. And there's so much we've done. I mean, I haven't worked with 500. I'd say I've worked with probably 50 clients, but I've we've both gone a long way, probably some way together, and there's so much stuff we want to share with all of you. Yeah, so I think let me maybe come to my story.
Of course, please.
So I'd say let's go back maybe also as early as you. So when I was a kid, let's say I never had a real passion. Like as you said, your passion maybe started with 18. I had always different things I was interested in. I'd say maybe obsessions. So I was interested in them for a certain amount of time. But then I thought, I discovered new things. So I never really had a learning that I knew this is exactly what I want to do. Like you have a lot of professions, people know exactly they want to be a dentist or they want to be a lawyer. That moment to me hasn't come since now. And maybe for you, it might be slightly almost the same, but I know you are quite passionate about certain things. But yeah, so that was kind of the early days. Then I went to university. So I thought the best thing that I would be interested in is just like business and marketing. So that sort of route I knew would interest me. And I didn't do the normal study program. I studied with a corporate company, like a big, huge Fortune 500 company. And it was interesting. And at the start, I was extremely motivated to do this. Met really good people, learned a lot also from bosses, as you said, or any kind of person I worked with. But I felt sometimes to be the most motivated person in the room. And that doesn't work in a corporate environment. If you're that person, then you're in the wrong room, I thought. So it took me a while to realize this fully. So, and I think it was then 2 years into this program when I really didn't feel any more motivation. I didn't think I'm going anywhere with this. So I thought, let's change the course. And I decided to do something completely different, just move to another country, to the UK. So I come from Germany, should have said that maybe to start. So that's where I grew up. And then when I was 21, 2 years into the program, I decided to finish the studies here. Just because I needed something challenging. That's generally the way I work, the way my mind
But at
works.
the same time, you were also involved in lots of internet products and internet marketing. Yeah.
That's true, actually. So actually 1 year before I moved to the UK, I already looked into online marketing. I started with affiliate marketing sites. I didn't have lots, there's all these affiliate marketers that have like dozens of sites. I maybe had 6 or 7. And one of them was quite good. And it was in a niche. And I actually managed to rank the site already in the first 2 months on position 1 for the main keyword, which was really nice. And that got me excited.
I think that's very good because I think sometimes people ask me like what shall I learn in marketing or what's the shortcut to marketing? Unfortunately, it seems like people think you can easily do like a Facebook course for 3 months or 6 months and learn everything. While, I mean, if you look at our journeys, we've spent time in almost so many different aspects of marketing. Like you've spent time on SEO, affiliate marketing, which I haven't spent. You've got more experience than me in that sense. But the whole journey of learning about SEO, learning about content, learning about the technicalities of, let's say, how to do a website and web design and psychology. Now, copywriting is something which we're both learning. So it's an ongoing kind of mountain to climb. It's a marathon that you have to keep pushing to be open, first of all, to the idea of learning, and then try to absorb the best from and learn from the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really great. We have the same mindset completely. Like we're both learning every day in many ways and just learn from anyone we come across. It's just normal for us. So that's kind of a given for me. That's a must in what we do. But yeah, coming back to the story. So affiliate marketing, I started, that's now 5 years ago, 2015. So as you can tell from that, I'm also have covered quite a way until here. So yeah, and then I did this always besides my studies. Then I kind of still was focused more on the studies because, I wanted to get this done. I had a very, let's say, how can I say, like the curriculum, like the program in the UK was so short. It was like less than a year. It was like 7 months for 1 full year. And so I had to focus on that. I didn't have so much time for the online marketing stuff. But in hindsight, I would say the more time you have or the more time you can spend on a side project while you're studying, you should do that because you never get that time back.
Yeah.
And
And I remember like the first conversations I had with you, you were very focused on kind of, you knew what you wanted in life, because at 19 or 20, it's not very common to have people who kind of have an understanding of at least what you kind of don't like. People, you knew what you didn't like, especially working in, let's say, in a corporate environment or working 9 to 5 and have a steady flow of income coming through. I remember like you telling me a lot about passive income. You're telling me a lot about managing, finances in a very different way, because I never had that knowledge. And I think that is something which you implicitly had, or you learned it along the way, which was so much better
yeah,
than
good. Yeah,
anybody I
thanks.
knew at that
Yeah,
age.
yeah. I think I know a lot of things I don't like, definitely. On the other hand, I think I haven't found the passion in some way, but I don't need that actually. Look, I've been at the 10x Growth Conference in the US this year, and I was a speaker. Maybe some of you on here know her. I think Marie Forleo is her name. So she said she always struggled with like really finding her path because she never fit. She wasn't fitting in anywhere. And then she said now she decided that she's gonna screw all these labels given to her. Expectations on her, and now she calls herself just a multi-passionate entrepreneur. And her way of doing things is just like doing lots of different things. I mean, it's a little different for me, but I'm just sharing that to show you have to just do whatever you want to do, and ignore other opinions sometimes. That's a big part also of my journey,
Yeah.
just to not listen to anyone who doubts you. Just completely get it, go in here, go out there. So yeah, and then we met 2017. I just finished an internship for 3 months in an SEO company locally. But yeah, I thought, it's time to really do this seriously. And then I joined a co-working space. I met you there. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, which is also interesting. But then we decided to work on a few projects together on the course that you said. And then we started our digital agency, LeadCube, which I'm still working on. So that's still going. That was the first real business I started, working with other SMEs and companies to grow their online presence through social media and SEO. And then 2018, we started our main business, LeadGen.
Yeah.
And that's what we're fully focused on now. So yeah, I think this is kind of a full story overview.
Yeah, absolutely. I think overall, I would say we've shared so many stories together, which I think will pop up more as we have these conversations, because every time when we either talk to each other, we realize there's something every day we learn, which we bounce with each other. And I feel on this platform, in the show, we will touch upon those topics. I think one of the things which we commonly do is we have a lot of people we follow. Not a lot, but at least a few people in this space, in this, I would say, marketing space, or overall like life coach space, that we are really following very closely. And I know you're a big kind of follower of Grant Cardone, and you've been through his entire course, which usually takes probably about 5 years for people to do, and you
I don't know.
completed it in what, 6 months?
I did it in a year, the Cardone
In a
University,
year.
but
Yeah,
I did
Cardone
lots of other
University.
things as well.
Yeah, so Cardone University, I don't know if many people know, but it's a platform which Grant Cardone has set up, where you can watch all of his videos, starting from like creating a demand versus selling, and maybe like more. Chris,
Up to like really online marketing stuff like retargeting, follow up, the whole sales process. Yeah.
can you tell people more about Grant Cardone and your kind of passion for Grant Cardone stuff?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. First of all, I should say maybe I study a few people
Yeah,
closely, but with Grant Cardone, I think I liked he was very authentic to me. He seemed like he seemed like a crazy guy when I watched him the first video. I remember that. A friend of mine from Germany knew a friend of his in UK who was in online marketing. Then he mentioned Grant Cardone and shared a video. And I thought, who is this guy? He's just like screaming in the camera and doing jokes and being so hard, so almost like offensive. But you know, when you watch him like 2, 3, 4 times, you realize he actually is very professional, very skilled, and he was just authentic. You know, there's lots of people which are good at what they do, but there are few people that you can relate with. And I think that might be an individual thing. For everyone, it's still a little different, but with him, it's like, I feel I can relate in a way to his story, that he always had this desire to build a business and to build something big. And he just pushes through, and he doesn't accept anyone to tell him otherwise. And that sort of thing, that's what resonated. And I just think he's the best in the field of sales.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'd like to study from the best. That's something which connects us also.
Yeah.
I not just want to go to any kind of course. We really want to study the best. So Grant Cardone in sales. I can name a few other people like Dan Martell for SaaS, software as a service businesses. Then we have Neil Patel. I would also bring in SEO. And then who else do we have? Then a few people in psychology. But yeah, so that's kind of my philosophy, or like the way I think about this.
And how would you kind of react to somebody who says like, oh, I don't need anyone, I don't want to follow anyone, because you know they don't see that they have to learn something from someone? Because I have these conversations with a few people where they don't read enough, or they don't follow many people enough, as if like they know everything.
Yeah.
How would you react to that?
Okay, I mean, you know Dan Pena, right? So he had the perfect answer to this. He said, "Fine, stay poor." So I mean, that was like a bit exaggerated, maybe,
Yeah.
But you know, it's about that. You know, it's your choice what you want to do, and if the problem is there's so many people complaining about everything, and if people are not accepting to focus on learning, then they have no right to complain about where they are, in my view. So that's the way I see it.
That's good. And I think you kind of introduced me to Grant Cardone. I remember we went to the Great Growth Conference in London, where we met so many other new people, which kind of also shows that, you know, luck is not something which obviously just magically happens. Luck is something which you can almost create for yourself by being at the right positions at the right spot. You know, opportunity comes to you when you do something about it. You don't just sit in your house and pray and think, oh, it's going to come. You have to take some action.
Yes. And that is also what I noticed. You know, sometimes you wonder, how did you come across this person now? So for example, let's say I got a recent new client, and then I kind of reverse engineer, how did I get to know him? And then I did this example. I was thinking about it a few times, and then I figured out, oh, it always goes back to 2017 when I was still a student, when I was still already doing networking. And the same thing happened with us. I joined a co-working space. I took the chance to just join a space, had no expectations to do anything, and things happened. And that's how luck happens.
Yeah.
You know?
And I remember, like, even with that event, sorry, I'm going back to this event, but in that event, we met so many new people. You met so many people, which kind of affected all of us, because there's a lot of synergy where, for example, when you meet people and you think, oh, this person might be a good fit for Apexure, you introduce them to me, and sometimes it's the other way around. So it seems like when you meet people physically, you build a connection with them, and it's so much easier to sell to them. As you know, like, we don't spend a lot on paid traffic or PPC stuff, because a lot of our customers have come through this whole concept of like building relationships, especially in our agency in Apexure, where I would say in the last 5 years, I don't think we have spent more than $1,000 on marketing, which is unbelievable.
Yeah,
if you
but
think
you can
about
look at it two sides, you know?
Yes, there are two sides.
I would also challenge you then to say, you know, if it works, then why don't we replicate the same model with ads? You know, that's now, but I know you're on that right now.
Yeah. That's something which we will talk about soon in this episode, or in this show.
Yeah. And regarding clients, yeah, definitely. Also for LeadCube, most of them came through networking, through referrals, through local businesses. And that's what people often forget. And that's also one of the things I probably don't like about this current situation we're in right now with the things being shut down.
Yeah.
It for many people it might just they don't affect them too much, but for I think entrepreneurs, we have a different mindset probably.
Yeah.
We need activity around us.
Yeah. And what would you say to somebody who's like, let's say, finishing their college degree, they're like 21, 22, and they want to get into this space of either setting up their own SaaS or setting up their own thing. How would you have done it differently?
No,
Now
that's
looking at what you did.
yeah, that's a good question. I probably would have done things differently
Mm,
looking back because I had no plan what I was going into, and I was just like hoping things would work out somehow, and I figured out a model which works. I would not do that the same way. I would probably stay with the role a little longer.
yeah.
In some way, but be disciplined enough to do my own thing every day.
Yeah.
If I don't have that discipline, then you have to force yourself to stay on track, because otherwise you end up being an employee for long, probably,
Mm,
because if you don't take that chance early. So you still have to take the chance early.
yeah.
But at the same time, I would probably not advise to jump into something completely if you don't have enough experience.
Yeah.
That's that's definitely what I would do different. But overall, on the other hand, now maybe that contradicts each other, but on the other hand, I would start as early as possible. So I started with own business at 22 completely. If I
Mm,
had done that at 18, I would be somewhere else now. And so, it's difficult to give a clear answer, but
mm,
the best thing overall, that stands above everything, is to start as early as possible.
yeah. Yeah. I kind of have, I understand the second bit. I also understand the first bit for myself, where while I was working this full-time position, I was building my profile, although it was on a freelancing platform like Upwork, which was Upwork. And in those kind of maybe 5 or 6 years, I built my enough clout on Upwork that I was in a position then to leave my job and, switch to Upwork, because I did build up the second stream to a point where I could then leave my job. Because sometimes it could be hard for people to think, if I don't do a job, how would I earn from day one? So you need some kind of maybe a blanket first before you make that switch.
Yes, I see. And I think the most important thing I'd say is that these days, university is so far detached from actual business, and that's a big problem. The biggest problem is people think they know something,
Yeah,
but it has nothing to do with business or with working with people and all these practical skills. So the best thing you can do is to do something, how can I say, like practical, something hands-on is the word.
yeah, yeah,
That is the best thing you can do, even if that means doing a traditional job and just working in a factory or whatever. That's I never had, and I'm, as you know, I'm sometimes a bit theoretical still. I'm kind of learning to develop both sides, like the theoretical, the strategy side, and the entrepreneur side. And I think I've, you know, got that almost, or I'm on that. But at the same time, that's what university does to people. You
yeah,
should do something real,
yeah,
whatever that is. And if you look back like 50, 40, 30 years ago, all these entrepreneurs that are now big, they have gone this route. Richard Branson, he
yeah,
has he has never been employed by anyone, and he did this record label business. And I think probably still at school or somewhere, when he was really young. Um, that's what helps you. It's the best thing you can do, I think.
yeah. I agree. Um, I had a question which skipped my brain now. Um, so what do you think is the vision for the show now?
Yeah, of course. So the vision is really to get also hands-on onto marketing, to share things which work, to share the things we preach what we do. So we
Yeah,
show
yeah,
you only what we work on, what we have worked on over the last years. It will be, in terms of specific contents, probably a lot around B2B marketing, growth hacking, how to optimize your web presence, your website, your landing pages, your SEO, organic, but also paid. there's certain areas where we are more experienced in, and there's others where we're not so experienced, and we'll make sure we mention that. And for those things we're not so experienced in, we bring in the right guests where we
Yes.
can learn at the same time.
Yeah,
So it will be a
absolutely.
mix of sharing our knowledge.
Yeah.
Maybe we might even do some sessions with screen share or whiteboard. I think we could do. We'll have guests on the show in marketing, and also the important thing is we keep this limited to marketing, and we're
Yeah.
not going to build another podcast around allowing anyone or wanting everyone to be on here, although we like to learn from everyone, but this is like on marketing. And the third thing is, so we had like own content, guest content. Third thing is behind the scenes, I think. So
Yeah.
we might even just record whatever we do, and then later on we figure out, oh, we just make this an episode. So
Yeah. I think this is something which we keep on talking together about a lot, where we say, what's the street smart way to do this, rather than just learning everything and being very theoretical about it. Let's try to do what we know few people who are very street smart, and how would they do in this position? That's what we usually that's our benchmark. So we will share that. I think what you said is absolutely right. Document what we're doing these days in our SaaS, in our agency, and share whatever we can. The whole idea is sharing. There's no hidden agenda with this show. We're not here to make money by selling you a course. It's literally, the whole show would be dedicated to people who have helped us, and we want to give it back now. We want to share as much as we can, because that's how we have learned. And most of my stuff which I've learned in my life is through YouTube videos. And if those people didn't share them, I wouldn't have known maybe 10% of my whole knowledge. So it's with that humility, or like maybe humbleness, we want to give back.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think we got so much content topics already lined up. And another thing I wanted to add is we go probably deep into one content at a time,
Yeah.
rather than too many things, or having a guest that will talk about the whole life story, which we have done now, I know, but I think in those sessions we go deep into one thing mainly.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you so much, Chris. And I'm myself looking forward to it. And I hope we have people who would be interested to learn more.
Absolutely. Same for me. And thanks to you. So yeah, see you
Thanks very
all in
much.
the next one.